Now, my last video on why single player games have been stinky, I mentioned how a bunch of publishers keep releasing games way too early, which then leads their fans to get gamer salmonella. But I wanted to talk more about release dates in this video instead of going off topic in that video. With more and more games releasing broken as shit, publishers have no idea on how to release their games. Their games can be a random thought that came across the mind of an executive in the middle of a fat dookie session, but there would already be a teaser teasing the game with no story written, no idea of what the gameplay is going to be like, zero engine, and zero workers in the studio. The biggest example being Cyberpunk from my last video. CDPR released a teaser 7 years before its release and 3 years before serious development. Now, personally, I don't understand the hype from a short teaser like this for a brand new IP, giving zero information as to what the story or gameplay is about. But there are a lot of people that do. And by hyping people up that early on, only sets the game up for failure. The most glaring issue is the game not living up to expectations. When a game is teased that far back, and as more hype is generated with the release of more information and teasers, you end up getting fans expecting the game to level them up in real life and give them the ability to ascend to a higher plane. But in reality, they'll just end up getting more disappointed as more information is released regarding the game. As games get further into development, developers often find constraints and limitations that prevent them from creating the ideal game they plan to release during pre-production. If you look up on Reddit, there's a shit ton of content that's cut for Cyberpunk. Now, if a lot of information regarding the game wasn't released very early on, this wouldn't be an issue. But the fact that many promises were made years before release, and the realization that their game is not playable at all on last-gen consoles, got CDPR cooked. These guys promised everything from this mechanic to that mechanic, but the only promise that they stuck with was their custom penises for their characters. And even that was cut from 3 to 2 different penises to choose from. But the worst that can happen from teasing a game way too early is having the game end up being cancelled. If there's very little to a game that early on, a lot can happen with production. There might be conflicts with the production of other games being developed by the studio, budget issues, conflicting interests of higher ups in the studio, and other issues that end up cancelling the production of a game. Now, this isn't common after a game is teased, but it's happened many times after a game's been announced. But if fans get excited for a game that's been announced or teased, and then the game ends up being cancelled, they're gonna be left hella disappointed. Everything from the game not living up to expectations, to cutting content, to deleting the game, is gonna paint a poor image to the studio. Fans are gonna lose trust, and the studio's reputation is gonna plummet. But revealing a game and releasing a teaser too early isn't the only issue, because revealing a game too late is a problem as well. Who remembers the Guardians game? Probably only about 4 people. The game was revealed, released, and won Game of the Year in the span of 6 months. And you barely hear anyone talk about it now. This game had too little hype, and in turn, the game didn't sell as much as you'd expect for a game that won Best Narrative. You'd see games from publishers like Ubisoft and Activision sell the most amount of games, winning 0 awards, yet the Guardians game doesn't even make it on the list. When the game came out, I didn't even realize it came out because I was expecting it to come a lot later. And when it released, it got pretty good reviews. But the fact that there was very little marketing hurt the game significantly, and it could have been more successful if they revealed it earlier to build more hype. So what's a good time to reveal a video game, according to the person who knows anything and everything about video games more than any publisher out there? Well, the answer depends. Months before like Guardians is far too little, and nearly a decade before like Cyberpunk is way too long. Subscribe and join the 1% of everyone subscribed to the channel if you think Modern Warfare 3 is gonna be dog caca. Games that release yearly tend to suck, but they do have a good marketing campaign and schedule when it comes to revealing their games. So when those games are revealed months before, it's not much of an issue. For these publishers, it makes sense to release announcements and teasers closer to release because it'll just kill the hype for the current game that's out. If Call of Duty released a trailer for their next game a year before its release, not many people are gonna be playing the current game because people might rather play the one that's coming out the year after instead. So what Call of Duty and other publishers do with yearly releases makes sense. But when a publisher that releases a game every couple of years does the same thing, they're missing out on so much potential, especially when it's a new IP or a new entry to an existing IP. When EA or Take-Two release a teaser or trailer for their next FIFA or 2K game, they already have an established fanbase that get excited for their shitty ass games, so they can get away with revealing their game late. But when Square Enix, who had a shitty reputation releasing the Avengers game, releases the Guardians teaser months before release, not many people are gonna be excited. That's why multiple teasers, trailers, and announcements should be released so that their audience can see that their game isn't gonna be as dog shit as their previous game. Instead, they just revealed the game, released it, and won Best Narrative in the span of the Island Boys' careers. I think one of the best releases of a video game was Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War Ragnarok. Red Dead Redemption 2's first trailer, which was more of a teaser, was released in October of 2016, and the game was revealed to release in fall of 2017. The second trailer was released in fall of 2017, but the game got delayed to spring of 2018, and they blueballed the fans one last time and released the third and final trailer before the launch trailer in spring of 2018 to reveal the final release date, which was October 26th, 2018. Game delays are expected from almost every studio, not that I'm defending it, but I would rather have the game delayed than be released early. But with what was revealed at the time of each trailer release for Red Dead Redemption 2, made the release date understandable. The first trailer was more of a teaser, just showcasing how jaw-dropping their world was. You don't really get any plot details or any gameplay details. But then in the second trailer, they reveal some details, expanding on the gang, showing us more creatures, and some levels we'll see in the game. And the final trailer gives you all the details that they can without ruining the game, and it gives us enough hype until launch day. This was all in the span of 2 years, which felt reasonable. And God of War Ragnarok had a similar sort of reveal as well. So I think the span of a year or two for bigger titles is a good time frame. But another important part about releasing a game is one you'd expect, and it's to not release close to a big release. I mentioned this before and I'll mention it again, but Horizon Forbidden West missed out on so many sales because the person that decided the release date skipped work that day. And a week-old intern set the release date of the game a week before the release of Elden Ring, just for the goofs. They somehow thought it was a good idea to release the game less than 1 week before the most anticipated game of one of the most beloved studios out there. Guerrilla Games still has a good reputation, but it's nowhere near the same level of reputation that From Software has. So they had zero chance of outselling Elden Ring. And what ended up happening was that some of their fans that would have purchased their game ended up buying Elden Ring instead because of the hype surrounding it. They should have released the game at least a month before the release of Elden Ring so that a decent amount of people could finish it. But they gave the game no time. And what's even worse is that it's a PlayStation exclusive. That's why I don't think Assassin's Creed Mirage is gonna get bodied by Spider-Man 2, because Assassin's is available across all platforms and Ubisoft always sells well. But if other first-party exclusives release a week before the release of a massive title, then they're just asking for failure. I do think Spider-Man's gonna sell significantly more, but not on the level of Elden Ring compared to Horizon Forbidden West. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. It's been a while since I uploaded, but I am still playing Elden Ring. I know you've heard that so many times from me, but I actually made a decent amount of progress. I am over 2/3 into the game. I want to drop a video on it as soon as I'm done because I have a lot to say, and my opinion kind of changed over time since my initial video on the game. So yeah, don't expect the video soon. I'll upload other videos and shorts in the meantime, but that's about it. Later.